Rishi, thank you so much, again for having me here. I'll take a step back and probably go back to some of my, career nuggets. So I started in 2006 and I landed up in Mumbai. So first time in Mumbai. Initial 5 years, I think, if you've been in Mumbai, it teaches you a lot of discipline and time management. I was fresh out of college. I was reasonably disciplined, but I think there is where I learned how powerful and how important time management was. From being okay with 5-10 minutes late to having a message in the life saying that a late is a late, right? Doesn't matter if it is 1 minute or 5 minutes. I think I was, really thankful that I had that experience. So reaching office well before time, focusing on work, outcome, time was something that was very important. And in Mumbai, if you worked in Mumbai, 6:29 means 6:29. It's never 6:30, right? And that's how the city, trained me. So much so that I was then in the same company sent to North, and one of our units in North was completely haywire, right? No idea who was coming, when people were coming, what was happening, and I was literally sent like a warden to say, okay, go and set it right. And I did it for almost 2 years, and I was able to correct it. So when I was growing up, time, discipline, availability in office, visual presence in office were becoming very, very important. uh, Took a plunge, joined Utsav Fashion. It was a transition for me from a retail setup to, a tech product-led setup. And I was carrying on the same principles in the tech and product company also. It backfired. It backfired like crazy. I remember my tech folks would come and say, why are we working 6 days a week? And I used to say, because our operation works 6 days a week, right? We all have to work 6 days a week. So that's a thought process that I was coming with. Came back to Mumbai, this time with a bank. Bank comes with additional level of discipline and regulatory compliance, where time is kind of even more essential. So, again, I was going through this conditioning. And then about 4.5 years back, joined a young startup called RentoMojo. Day one, when I was, up to reach office, I called my team member who was, to prepare an induction for me. And I said, okay, what time do I reach office? So I was said, yeah, you can come around 11:30. And I was like, okay, isn't that too late? And she said, no, most people come around that time. That was the first moment of change for me. I still reached at about 9. I was sitting there alone for 2 hours, and I kept on doing this for quite some time. And I just realized that, I was the odd person out there rather than, other people who would, essentially work from home, come to office, attend meetings, go. It was a massive, massive change for me. And I was struggling with it. I was not able to adapt to it. And then came COVID, literally locked into my houses. Office goer, very disciplined person, suddenly being put to home was a huge challenge for me. And but now today, when I look back, I don't come to office now because I've realized that change had so much value, which I was earlier ignoring. Okay. My focus started to happen on the work. I started to manage, things around me far better. And today, if you ask me, will I ever want to go to a full, 5 days, 6 days kind of a 9 to 5 or 7 office? I would not, because I've started to see value in this. And I'm glad that, this happened in my lifetime. Otherwise, I wouldn't have learned it. And when I look at it, there are 4 key pillars that anybody should focus on in building, the workplace 2.0. The first one is, custom it to the nature of the business. As we were talking about, Preeti talks about business partnering and, looking at business priority. It's a very important piece for human resources professionals. So it has to be custom to the nature of business. Now, a manufacturing unit may not have, a lot of changes that they can see, right? A legacy organization with 30 years, 70 years of culture would find it difficult to translate. If I'm into a service business or a product business or a delivery business or a sales business, and very important, what's the thought of the leadership, right? So that is important. So first is, as I say, custom it to the nature of the business rather than having a cookie cutter approach saying that, okay, this is a policy, do it, it is going to fail. The second is also to custom it to the stage of the business. Early stage companies where people are coming together, the thread of culture or the trust does not exist. There it is very, very important that there is more and more face time that happens. I moved to second stage where it's a very high growth business, people are getting hired, but your large part of, policies, cultural nuances are established, then you can operate in a hybrid setup any which ways, right? Because, the large part of the culture will ensure that people are getting, acquired or probably inducted in the organization. And the third is, if it's a very mature phase, I think there is a serious reconsideration of why, somebody should essentially come to office just for the heck of it, right? So the second, as I said, is custom to the stage of the business. Third, very important, is the maturity of your performance management machinery, right? Because this is the shift from time only to outcome, right? And not that it is new, right? Sales units, sales people have essentially been operating on targets, right? How much time do they put? They would, clock in something, nobody would care. If you're at the end of the day getting the dhanda, as they used to say, or business, everything was secondary. I think it existed, but it's important to understand how mature is a performance system. Is it still valuing busyness, which is equivalent to time that you are available in the office or the clocking time? Then it is going to fail you. If you are at that stage, your game plan has to be different. If you are a mature organization, and I could say, being a tech product led company at RentoMojo, we have evolved to a phase where our goals are fairly clear. Numbers are very, very clear. We are very, very data driven. So an output is not very difficult to establish, also because of the nature of the business. So third part to be looked at in this design is maturity of performance system. And at the core, if I circle it, if I put it together, I think the future is all about personalization of, the entire machinery or employee experience, right? We have heard of people, a lot of women employees resigning from a large organization because they decided work from home would not continue. I have 2 kids where, work from home helps me save that 1-2 hours of travel and spend time with them, and probably or things that mattered. So probably the reason I was able to write a book, because I was able to cull out that time, right? There are people who would want to come to office. We did not have an office at RentoMojo per se during COVID. We took up a large office because our tech folks said, yeah, we need to come to office because we are now getting bored at home. So again, it is about how do you create personalized experience. And the only way personalization is going to happen is when we use technology, because technology is going to scale personalization. So 4 pillars: custom to the nature of the business, custom to the stage of the business, understand your performance system maturity, and focus on personalization. And a combination of these 2, I think, is going to prepare everybody for the 2.0 workplace that we talk.